Hello, everyone. Good evening to all. I hope you all are having a very peaceful day. This is Nandini, a member of the host team at PsyConnect, and I'm going to be the host for this session for you all. And actually, I'm feeling really very excited that you all are here again with PsyConnect in our one more amazing podcast session titled Studying Cognitive Psychology Across Borders. And to shed light on today's topic, we have invited our respected speaker, Ms. Suraksha Vegad ma'am. So, without making any further delays, let me give you all a very quick introduction of ma'am. So, Suraksha Vegad ma'am, a dedicated professional, has completed her BA honors in
Thank
psychology
you.
from Lovely Professional University in the year 2020. Building upon her passion for cognitive sciences, she furthered her education by obtaining a master's degree in cognitive sciences and technology from the esteemed National Research University Higher School of Economics in Russia in the year 2022. In 2019, she worked as a research associate in the Department of Psychology at Lovely Professional University. In 2022, she served as a graduate assistant at the Faculty of Psychology National Research University Higher School of Economics in Russia. And currently, since March 2024, she is a research associate at the Healthy Living Spaces Lab, Institute of Occupational, Social, and Environmental Medicine at the University Hospital IWTH Aachen. And her diverse experiences in psychology and research contribute to her expertise in this field. This is not all. Her research work centers around human health and well being with a particular focus on sleep, environmental quality, and creating healthy buildings. Her expertise lies in understanding how our surroundings impact our overall mental health, and she strives to design spaces that promote wellness and comfort. So, please join me in welcoming our prodigious speaker with lots of respect and love. We welcome you, ma'am, with PsyConnect, and we are so glad that you are here with us and you are giving your valuable
Thank
time to
you.
us. And we just expected to learn a lot of new things from you. Would you like to greet our listeners before we head towards the session?
Sorry, I lost you.
Okay, that's okay, ma'am. Okay, so let's get started with the session. And our very first question to be asked. Okay, so ma'am, since the name of our title itself is studying cognitive psychology, so let's get started with a very basic question about which, although we know, but still I would ask you to answer it. So, what is cognitive psychology? Can you define it for us, and how much is its contribution in the entire field of psychology?
Well, in my opinion, I think it has quite some intense research which absolutely looks into the cognition aspects, like how we think, how we decide, how our perception works, how our understanding is towards the environment, towards lot many objects. It's all about like how your brain actually is working and how you are intending to make the further next decisions for the future. So it's been quite a new topic. I believe not many Indians still know about this field. And in very layman words, it's all about studying your brain, your thought process, your perception.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am, for beginning this session so smoothly with a very basic definition of it. Okay, so now let's move to our main questions about cognitive psychology abroad. Okay, so the very first question goes like, how does the curriculum for cognitive psychology differs between Indian universities and those abroad?
Um, to what my experience has been is that in India, the syllabus is very rigid, I would say. Even if a student having no background in math still has to go, maybe they could find some difficulty. I mean, it's kind of a good thing that you are learning something new and you would be inculcating. But I think the syllabus, which is very rigid, is not so good for students if you look into the bigger overview rather than a very narrow that okay we want our students to go through the syllabus of this particular which our institution is providing. um, in my perspective I feel that when I studied in Russia we had tracks. The students have an opportunity to choose or opt out with the given options, and the options are just not with two but like many more. So people, the students, depending on the interest, depending on what they exactly want from the program, they have a flexibility of choosing the courses, which I think in India this thing doesn't exist. And the foremost thing is about specialization, right? Like some people might only look into the psychology aspect. Some would only look for the cognitive psychology. Some want the mixture of neuroscience and cognition. Some might look into the absolute computational aspect. So students have more opportunities to modulate their curriculum. So this is the major thing I felt, and that was the reason that I chose the program abroad, compare not to take in India. Yes.
Okay, ma'am, we got it. Okay, so similar question goes like, are there specific areas of specialization that are more emphasized in foreign programs as compared to India?
Mm, in this case, I think I'm more realistic. At least in my experience, I have seen that uh, the grants, the grants which the usual department or the faculties receive from the government, they focus on the very existence of the problem. So let's say the project which I'm working on, um, it is looking into the current aspects of how the architecture is working and how it impacts to the cognition and the health of the subjects. So I would say that it depends how I mean, what kind of problem exists at the moment, and if there is any project which actually is trying to answer this question or at least explore the opportunities for solutions. So it's more practical based, which I think in India still lacks a little to some extent. So that's all I would say. It's more at the practical end.
Okay, like we found in India that the majority of the perfect research opportunities that we find here are in IITs and top major institutions like that. So as compared to this, what are the research opportunities that students will find in abroad countries, particular in the area of cognitive psychology that we are focusing?
So opportunities, do I understand, is it in the job aspects or as in the academic aspects that someone wants to study?
We would love to know both, starting from the academic then to the job, the overall research opportunities.
I would say cognitive psychology is quite a known subject abroad. So not like in India that only few institutions we have that they focus on the cognitive psychology or they have a well-established lab. I think it's quite more in abroad. But secondly, when it comes to learning, I think they do have good grants and funds because if you see, India actually is not investing more in the research. The percentage of grant and funds for the research is less. That's very unfortunate that we have such condition. But abroad, they do give more emphasis for the future research, and they look that whatever the grant is being spent on, they want to reap those benefits. So they want something as in the existence that if they have some problem that they want to investigate, and then the people come up with the grants. So it's just more at the practical end, I would say, but yes, the funding is quite good here. And the opportunities, if you want to go into the industry or you want to continue in academia, that varies a little. But the flexibility is still higher end compared to the Indian counterpart.
Okay. And what would you say about how well equipped are foreign countries in terms of labs and technology and resources for cognitive psychology over there?
In this case, I would say it's more like it depends on the university's position, right? So, let's say if there is a very new university, you need to do a background check that how well they are equipped or how the training is going on. But since I studied in a well established institution, for me, it was quite easy to find information because everything was available on the internet and I was able to connect with the students as well. If it's quite an old university which has a good ranking, I wouldn't be more focusing on the ranking, but still, some part you need to focus on it. That already gives you an overview that, okay, there is a lab, the researches are going on, and so the publications. Because the institutions which rank, they also see the research output But then you definitely have to look into each aspects, that what kind of syllabus they provide, what kind of research, you know, specializations they are more focused to. So when I did my master's, it was an opportunity that I could absolutely go into the neuroscience aspects, or just the psychology, or maybe absolutely off for a computational basis, just depending on your interest and your skill. I think there was a lot of leverage.
Right. Okay, before heading forward, I would like to request all of the listeners that if you have any queries or doubts, you can put them in the chat box throughout the session. It will be addressed during the session also. And after the session gets end, you can unmute yourself and speak up your questions as well. So yeah. Okay. So now getting ahead is like language, very main aspect that has to be focused while going abroad for studies. Like in India, हम हिंदी भी बोल लेते हैं, हम इंग्लिश भी बोल लेते हैं, अनदर कोई किसी की स्पेसिफिक लैंग्वेज हुई उससे भी काम चल जाता है. बट अब्रॉड कंट्रीज में क्या लैंग्वेज एक बैरियर बन सकता है स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, स्पेशली जो यहाँ इंडिया से बाहर जाने का सोच रहे हैं, और कितना कंट्रीब्यूट करता है एज अ प्रॉब्लमैटिक थिंग लैंग्वेज?
Mm, well, I personally will say that I was lucky that my master's program was absolutely in English. But honestly, I would say that it depends on the student's willingness to learn the language, because language is just a mere communication, right? If you can learn, you have a lot much of opportunities to get in, made with the job aspects, made with the curriculum. But I think at least the abroad universities, they give an opportunity of 1 year to learn a language if you get a scholarship from the government. So if you learn a language, well and good. But I personally was quite realistic, knowing that it might be difficult, because learning a language in your early 20s and then doing a whole program in that language, it becomes quite difficult compared to the native students. So I would prefer that if any student who is very confident that they are going to learn the language and, uh, attend the whole program in the language, well and good. Otherwise, I personally recommend that it's good to have a program which is in English, and it's more like, it's an easy path, that at least the language isn't a big barrier for you, because the education, the syllabus is providing you a lot of opportunities to learn. And if you're comparing it very well, then I think you should also consider the language. For example, in Russia, my program was in total English, but then the department also provided for social psychology, where a couple of subjects were then taught absolutely in Russian language. So it's difficult. One or two subjects, maybe, if you have some information, or you can take some students' help and you can give exams, but it might be difficult. It just absolutely depends how open you are to learn language, how much input you want to give, or you just want to move focus to the subjects rather than focusing on the language and then coming to learning. So it's absolutely open, I would say. In my perspective, I chose an English program because I was not willing to learn language.
Right, right. Is there any specific way or any specific kind of help that the universities themselves provide to the students for learning a specific language of their?
I would say yes. Let's say if like couple of my friends who were from other countries, the ones who are not native Russians, they had scholarship, the full scholarship from the government. So the government has a mandatory rule that you need to learn the Russian language for free of cost from the university professors for 1 year, and you need to clear that exam at certain level, and then you can join the program. The second is either you can prove that, okay, if it's the program which isn't taught in Russian and you need to learn a language just because you have got a scholarship, it's a mandatory. You can just give an exception that, okay, you have some good skills and you would like to skip this 1 year of language program and just you want to jump to the program straight away. But usually the universities do give special classes, maybe for small cost or just for free, depending if you have a scholarship or not, or you're a paid student. But the universities usually give the language program.
Now that's a very good initiative for some of the students. Okay, now one more thing is internship. क्योंकि इंडिया में बहुत ज़्यादा हाइप है स्टूडेंट्स as soon as they get into their bachelor's they start searching for internships especially in the field of psychology. So what are the internship opportunities that the universities abroad provide for cognitive psychology students, and how would you compare them to that those opportunities provided in India?
The foremost thing which I see is that there's a huge, vast difference because we don't have a big faculty, unfortunately. But that was not the case in abroad, at least in my view, because there are a lot many teachers. They have a lot many different interests. There are a lot many different, the research groups who are focused in certain tracks. So the internship opportunity within the university is quite good. So people can just absolutely focus on data analysis, maybe of MRI or TMS, or simply they can go and work in the lab. So the internship opportunity is quite more within the university itself, within the program itself. So let's say I had like couple of two internships which I need to do, one in the third semester and one in the fourth semester. So I chose to work under one of the senior research fellow, and then I joined taking as an opting for not to go for the research but going for the teaching part. So you have more opportunities, I would say, but then this absolutely depends on universities. For example, in Germany, they have a mandatory internship, but the students have to find by themselves. But in Russia, for the same program where I did, we had an internship opportunity within the curriculum. So we get credits and you can submit your reports. The internship are usually for like 2 months or maybe for 3 months, depending on the need of the faculty who is providing you the internship. But yes, this is at least not paid in Russia. But if you have happen to get an internship opportunity in Germany, then you get a pay for it. It's not for free. Yes. So the aspect which country you're looking, what kind of internship opportunities you're getting within the university or outside of the university, this matters a lot. So you need to be very cautious. You need to know everything, like from where you can get an opportunity and what you really want to focus. Accordingly, you can plan out which university you would like to go in.
Right, right. And what about opportunities outside that university? If some students want to work on their own, like they want to do their job independently, are they allowed to do so during their semesters?
I think Russia has been quite leveraged because I was able to do a full time job there, but it was to an end that I didn't had much of courses to attend, and the job was remote. So they usually do not check until and unless it affects your education. But definitely, you need to give an prior information to the program manager, knowing that you're working full time and you're also studying, because they really focus on that your education should be good in the aspects of the learning as well as for your degree to maintain, because Russia has been quite strict, I would say. If you fail in couple of subjects, they absolutely ask you to walk out of the program. They are quite strict, yes. But in Germany, usually in the West abroad, part-time is common. They do allow students, but for certain hours. In Russia, they are quite leveraged in that sense. But then if you want to work in a different university, you can maybe collaborate, or you can just absolutely find the opportunity in some web portals and apply for it. Yes, but they are open, but you need to also focus that if the university is allowing you to go to that different university, at least in Germany, the internships you are supposed to do, they give you certain months after the program, so you are absolutely free to travel, go live there, do your internship, have more practical experience on, and then it's up to you. You submit the report, and yeah, you're done with your program. But in Russia, it is different because it is within the faculty itself, and yeah, it varies. Honestly, it's too different. Although Russia is kind of a part of Europe, but when it comes to the education aspect, it is quite different.
Okay, ma'am, got it. I am seeing in the chat box, Pravanchana is asking a question. What are the opportunities for part-time work while studying over there?
Um, so yes, in Germany, it's very common. Students usually work. Now here there are many categories: heavy, part-time, mini jobs. You can absolutely work. Here you need not have to worry about some permission. But in Russia, you can work without informing. But usually they ask you that if you do such a full-time job, it's better to inform the department so that they know your condition. They can give you more help and assistance. I would say in that sense. So it's better that you inform. And yeah,
What
but
kind
you
of
have an
help? What,
opportunity. Yes,
what kind of help do they provide? I mean, if they will come
sorry.
to know that, okay, if,
So
yeah.
let's say that you fail certain exam just because you were not able to focus or you lack some subjects to focus on. They help you assistant that okay, maybe they can give you more materials, they can try to help you resolve your issues or doubts, or give you an extension that okay, you can give this program test in the next semester, or give you more opportunity of attempts. Yes. In Russia, at least in my program, we had 3 attempts for each test. So although we tried to clear in first attempt, but just in case if you're not able to give the test or you score less marks, you have another opportunity. So working and studying is quite accessible abroad compared to India. Irrespective that the job is in your field or outside, I think they are quite open with this. So they are very helpful. They provide you assistance. Unfortunately, I do not know about Germany because I'm here as a research assistant and I'm not in a master's student. But here students do work and it's a very common part. And you can earn decent amount of money to survive.
Right. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Our question goes like that. Now, how do job prospects differ for graduates of foreign programs versus Indian programs?
I personally have experienced this abroad. People only look at your skills, they don't look at your degree much. If you showcase that you're willing to learn and that you're really interested. But unfortunately, in India, still the norm of having a degree based on the application you're submitting for still exists. So they're not very, open, I would say. So let's say when I was studying my master's program, I really wanted to work to earn the money and be able to manage the expenses and to pay the little part of the fees. I was able to find a full-time job in in a in a company where English was a second language. I need not have to worry to have skills in Russian language. But that job was absolutely different from my study program. But I was able to do it. So they are very open, which I would say is not existing in India, unfortunately. So if you really want to look into your own field aspects, you can get them, but you have to be, you need to showcase the skills. If not, the other mini jobs are there which you can do, and you can just earn, and that's it. The opportunities are definitely more here in India. Like let's say if you're studying, you can't work practically like a full time job. A very well established university only wants you to work or just study, but not to able to merge them, which I think is not a concept in abroad. You can work and you can study, and you have leverage of attending the classes or just to skip it and just sit for the exams. Yes, so it's very flexible, and you have lot many things you can modulate according to your needs, and you can be independent but also be a student, which at least doesn't exist in India.
Right. Okay, ma'am, as you were saying about they want skills only. So can you just let us know about some of these skills that we are expected to have when we are out of India for our studies?
Foremost is the statistics. I definitely know people would be scared of it, but that's a very basic need. You need to have some skills in statistics. You need to have some skills in the data analysis, like maybe you have some coding skills in Python, or maybe some other which you can try to implicate that, okay, this can be worked around and you can use them here. Be able to know how to run experiments. Having a little lab skills is also important. and they overall look the aspects of the skills based on the specialization. Let's say if you're in competition neuroscience, so they ask, okay, do you have a degree in neuroscience? Do you have some experience working in rodents or some other animals, or testing in the live animals, or let's say having skills in Python, or maybe even experimenting like using EEG or TMS. So these things also matter. So unfortunately, at least in my case, I tried to get some skills. I went to IIT Kanpur. I learned about the eye tracking. I was able to learn some skills in the statistics and how to run Python code and how to even make codes for the experiments. Still, I was not able to grab a position in one of the universities in Netherlands. And the reason they stated is that I don't have skills in EEG or any kind of equipment. So they kind of, it depends honestly, because how is the syllabus? At least in Russian university, they had a specialized program for 4 semesters where they only teach you the neuroimaging skills. So that was a point that was very diverse and at a very, you know, edge points, I would say. In India, you get to learn, but you wouldn't be having more opportunities. Maybe you will be only be able to learn EEG or maybe eye tracking. But in my university, I had a lot many equipments, so we had training in all of the equipments. We had hands-off training. We also used extensively that for our research work. But in some universities, you need to identify about it that what kind of syllabus they are and what kind of basic skills they would like to ask. So you can definitely contact the program manager, and just you can ask that, okay, are we expected to have some skills? And in this case, I would say you better know at least by 2 years from the time that you want to start your education, 2 years prior to it, so that you can find the right institution in India where you can go, work, have that live experience, and be able to showcase that when you want to apply. So this is a very major thing. At least I was not able to have it, so I opted for Russian university, which was again a surprising thing. I just applied randomly. I didn't have much of thought, but I got selected. I got scholarship, also partial scholarship, and I had 4 months to think about it. And in that meantime, I tried to look into the syllabus, how the teaching is going, what are the opportunities, and then I decided whether or not I would be choosing this university. So you need to know it. For some universities, they are okay to have students who do not have knowledge but would like to join it. But in some universities, it's a mandatory that you need to know.
Right. Getting. Okay. So now one more very important aspect that I guess every, at least middle class student takes into consideration before applying abroad. That is the what are the financial implications of studying abroad versus studying in India? Like, what are the major things that we should consider while thinking for studying abroad?
Foremost, I would say is to know how much funds you have, because at least I knew that I cannot spend a lot of money. Although I got a partial scholarship, I was able to cope up. But the foremost thing is you need to have a calculative expense, an average expense known that, okay, for 2 years or 3 years of program, this is my total expense. And you need to know your own position, whether or not you're able to grab a scholarship. In Russia, there are a couple of scholarships, one given by the university, one by the government. If it's a government, it's free of cost. If it's university, you get a partial one. And then in that partial, there are not many percentage, so you have to look into it. But if you're in the European counterpart, most of the education is for free, especially in the Germany, it's free. The money which you pay is just for your semester fees, which actually includes your transport and your education part, which is a very nominal amount. But if you compare with India, I think it's more or less the same. More or less the same, because the living cost is quite high here, which is not in India, but it accommodates in the fees aspect, right? So that's one point. If you're able to take a loan, well and good. If not, then you have to look for your personal expenses. Or third is to find your and job opportunity there abroad, or somewhere that which pays you decently, and you can be able to continue with your job and your studies. For me, I had little support from my mother, but I did knew that I had to get a job, and I did found one once when I shifted to Russia, and I was able to work. and the pay was decent enough. So the financial aspect was taken care by me. But then you have to also remember that you have to get good scores in an academia. You should not fail it and be able to complete the program, because you need to give a certain priority. You can't give equal priority to everyone, right? So you need to balance it out. So it depends on the students in this aspect as well. Because I knew when I worked, I was absolutely burned out, and I at last left the company, because you need to be able to handle that level of stress.
Right.
So be prepared for it, or get try your best to get scholarship and have a free mind to only focus on your education.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for making us so excited as well. Uh, okay, so as we have many renowned institutions in India as well, why should one choose to adopt their degrees from outside India, like foreign countries? Any sort of advantages or disadvantages? Like, first talk about the advantages.
The foremost advantage is that the foreign universities has quite diverse programs, or the research tracks, I would say. Let's say neurourbanism, very rare people would know about it in India. Or interdisciplinary, like architecture and psychology. Or you say about relationship course, I mean research related with the relationship and decision making, the pure aspects of it. These things, I think, at least doesn't exist in India, because in India still the professors are little narrow with the research areas. Let's say they are quite more into the emotional researches, or decision making, or computational, or the robotic ends. But in abroad they are very leveraged. I had like a couple of my batchmates who were doing research related with the user interaction. So they were only focused to that, and they were focused in a way that it was more towards the industrialization job aspects. So it's quite very wide, I would say, when it comes to the research questions or research focuses. At least that doesn't exist in India. It's still less in the opportunity, unfortunately, quite less. So for me, that was one point. I would say I was really intending to get into neuroeconomics, and there were designated professors who full-fledgedly work in that aspects of research. So, and there is a different institute for it. They do full research in the decision making. So, you need to, at least that was the major point for advantage. If you are someone who is not going for an old aspects of research, but want to try something new, or the one which interests you, which doesn't exist in India, I think that would be the foremost point, that you can look abroad, or try to find professors and then you look into that university.
Okay, so before getting towards the disadvantages, I can see Prabhanjana ma'am has raised her hand. Ma'am, you can unmute yourself and ask her question. I think that was by mistake, and okay, it's okay, it's okay. She doesn't have any question. Okay, so let's move forward. Any sort of disadvantages that you are facing even after going there?
I would say, unfortunately, the Russian culture is quite different. So if you want to, get well with the Russian students or the Russian natives, it's very difficult. So you will feel a lot of loneliness and lost when it comes to the academic, where you might meet some students that, oh, hey, hi, I need some help. Maybe you could try to explain this topic. So that was one point I would say. Secondly, that um, there might be some biases as well. So I shouldn't be revealing it, but I'll try to be very crisp about it. That you may not get equal opportunities compared to the native, and you being an international. You could only make this stronger by having skills, technical skills, and having a little language skills. Yeah, because let's say if you really there is a vacancy for the research assistant position, and the research assistant are supposed to have a conversation with the subject or the participants who might come to the lab. So of course they're gonna speaking in the local language. If and all the second language of English doesn't exist in the country, like in Russia, so it will give more preference to the native students. Although they might not have the skills, but they will get it. Why? Because language overpowers your skills, your technical skills. So if you're having technical skills and you really want to get into such a position where you have to interact with the natives, you have to be make sure that you can showcase the language skills to them and you can prove that yes you can handle it. So I was sure that I wouldn't be able to get into research assistant, so I went to the teaching assistant. So my professor was a Japanese and all the program was in English, so for me it was easy. So all I had to do is maintain the records and solve the students questions. So you have to be more practical and be able to look into the scenario, right? And definitely when it comes to non-English speaking countries, language is definitely a big thing that you have to consider it. And especially in Germany also, that's again the case. You have some courses you can try to do. You can try to get some examination done, and you can show that okay, you have B1 level or C1 level, and then you can try to apply for it. But yes, you have to check by yourself if it is a skill or skills with language that you can beat up and get to the position.
Right. Okay, I just want to inform the listeners that I am almost heading towards end of my questions. So if you have any questions, please type in the chat box or keep noting it. I'll give you the chance to ask to ma'am directly. I can see Sakriti is asking, what about the disadvantages in Germany? If you have any idea about that.
Disadvantages. I think it's a very tough competition for you to beat the native Germans to get a job. The foremost thing, may it be within the university or outside, because language here is foremost thing. Secondly, the job opportunities. I mean, there are thousands of students here, and the job opportunity or the vacancies are quite less. So maybe that can be one of the reasons that you will not be able to find it. And third is your skills, the technical skills, because at times you feel that so much of overburden because there are a lot many things going on. You have to cope up with your assessments and other stuff, and you're not be able to learn the skills which you would be needing in the field. That can be one of the other aspects. So just I'm saying that if you really want to study abroad, you need to make a strategy for it way before you actually begin, so that you know that what kind of things you can predict or you can control to get in your favor. I knew that when I'm going to Russia, I have opportunities of working outside of the university, and within the university teaching assistant is something I can plan to get in, and I was able to get it, right? At least in Germany they do not have racism at that extent, but definitely they look into the practical aspect, and knowing the language is one of them. So unfortunately here people do not speak English, so you have to know the language. But then here is another thing, that if you go to only English based countries, they do not have much of scholarships. The expense of education is very high, and finding a job is also becoming much more difficult, because everyone who says that, oh, I know English, let's go to an English based country. There's a lot of intake of those kind of people, so for you to get an edge becomes much more difficult. So for you here, you can find that okay, let's learn the language and get certain level, and I can try to sort down the companies or the places where you can try to leverage that opportunity and get in. Yes.
Difficulties everywhere. All we can do is try. Okay.
Try, but it should not be hopeless, because let's say there are heavy opportunities. If you're really good in research in the universities, where most of the programs right now are becoming in English languages, it's easy for you to get in. But yes, there are a lot many applications also. So you need to have some very good skills that you can showcase and you can sell yourself. That okay, yes, I have this and I can get in, right? So language definitely is quite playing a lot role, but not necessarily. You can absolutely have very good skills in the research part, and you can try within the university itself. Yes.
Right. Okay. What weightage does that international degree especially in our field, like in the field of cognitive science, since it is a quite practical field. So, what weightage does that professional degree will add in our, in our work professionally, as compared to Indian degrees? Like if we are getting that courses in India and then comparing to that of international, then what could be the advantages of that?
Um, I honestly feel that if you're studying in a very good institution in India, like IIT or CBCS, which provide cognitive psychology as in a course, it doesn't matter. But when it comes to the technical skills, which you can showcase in your CV, that okay, you have skills in EEG, you know how to run FNIS experiment and the TMS experiment. I think couple of things are there which can put a lot of weightage. But secondly, which university has studied, because I think India still looks into a little aspects of the ranking of the universities or the program, like what kind of skills you have gained, something new maybe which that doesn't exist in the Indian program. That can make a difference, at least. So, at least my professors from my university mentioned that if you plan to study abroad, do not do the next step of your education in India. Just because you have reached to a higher level, you should not dip to a lower level. That was their perception. And I said that this perception only can be changed when the curriculum and the funds, I mean, we are able to get into the parallel level of the Western universities. That might take long time, but we still have opportunities of learning skills by ourselves and trying to get some collaboration and work for them. So it depends on the university ranking and the skills you can gain through. But I think it depends which kind of universities you apply or for the companies and in which country they are. So let's say I studied in Russia. I was in one of the top institutions at that time. So for me, my university name and the program which I was studying was good enough for them to take me for a job. The job which was not even related with the study program, right? But it still worked. But in India, there are other problems, right? Like which field you have studied, which kind of job you're applying for, the skills you have. Of course, international degree is given a little more priority, but then this is not the case. It absolutely has lot many factors which you need to relate and look through.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. I have one of my last question that I will be asking after taking the question from the chat box. Sheila AJ is asking. First of all, she's thanking you for giving us the great insight. And then she's asking, can you please help me in giving references of portals where interested students can apply for open research positions?
Okay, this is wonderful question. There is this website called Eura Access, EURAXESS. This is a portal for the job opportunities, especially for research assistant, teaching assistant, PhD, postdoc, professor, and tenure tracks. There, if you plan to get into PhD, this is the foremost website I would say for. This is only for the European countries, but also there are some universities who publish from the Asia and Middle East, like Saudi Arabia and so. So you can look into this website. The other is the QS ranking and the THE, the Times, because they also publish a job list where you can find universities who are opening positions. Other than that, if you are only looking for the teaching aspects, that you want to take a course and you want to learn, then it's up to you which country you want to go and which universities you would like to get into. But let me tell you, for free of cost, I can try to connect with people there. I did a lot and I was able to learn lot many things. I was able to connect with the professors, and so I was able to get into my university. So talk about my PhD position. I kind of knew that okay, this is somewhere I could apply for, and I have been looking through for 6 months, and so I got in here. For my masters, also I was able to connect with lot many students, and then I decided that yes, I accept this position, and then I responded to the university. So you need to just look through. If you're looking for a job, then Euraccess is what I would recommend because I have personally used that. And if it is for just for education, then I would say look into the universities and the programs.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. In this similar question, Prabhanjana ma'am is asking, is it better to apply from a consultant or is it better to do it myself?
Firstly, a very big no for consultant. Absolutely no. So I'm saying with my experience, LPU, where I studied my bachelor's, they have a consultant. They were private, but they were in collaboration with the university, so their office were within the campus. And I really wanted to study in the States, so I applied. I asked them, although I was not very actively, but internally I knew that I wanted to study in the States, like 2 years in India and 2 years bachelor's in US, and then I get my final bachelor's degree in the US. Unfortunately, although got good responses from universities accepting me because I was doing good in my academia, and so they accepted that, okay, we give an opportunity. But then there was no scholarship at all. And I said, I want scholarship because I cannot, bear the price because I was from a middle class family. I just jokingly said that जितना पैसा मैं यूनिवर्सिटी को भर रही हूँ इतना अगर मेरे पास रहता तो मैं घर ही खरीद लेती पढ़ना ही क्यों था right so you have to be very cautious the consultants honestly they get money from the universities where they get you into firstly know where is their income right they will not be honest with you scholarship hoga bhi to nahi batayenge so please no for consultants because they'll rip you off they will get you into a university which may not satisfy you and secondly they don't have domain knowledge they only know how to get you into that university so for me it's a big no if you have money then you can opt for but I never did that I did all research by myself from second year I started to connect with people I took some trainings in the neuroimaging and then I started looking to universities. I initially wanted to go to Netherlands. I applied by myself, uh, and I knew where I was lacking. I didn't get any response for the first university. The second one, I cleared the first round. In second round, they noticed that I couldn't because I didn't have a technical skill and so I was not able to practically apply for the scholarships. So scholarships information you can find that in the government websites or simply search that okay European scholarships for the this program. I did a lot of research, a lot, and then I made my notes. I knew which kind of country I want to go, and then I decided. Germany still has lot much of free education. The fees which you pay, the 300 euros, it's for your transport and for your semester program. It's not the actual fees. It's still very less. A student can simply, bear that cost. That is okay, but you need to be very cautious. कंसल्टेंट के चक्कर में कभी मत पड़ना खुद से मेहनत करो you take an year back learn and also find the university where you want to get but if you do not want to have any gap in your academia then I would suggest start searching from like 2 years or like 1.5 year at least because the applications for admissions usually open by 6 or 8 months prior to it and there are like many intakes and you can just look through but also be very cautious what kind of uh, geographical environment you're going in like for example when I was in Russia for me it was very difficult because in winters there is no sun at all and being a person from tropical country it was very depressive for me not just me from any tropical person I would say so be very cautious about the conditions there at the moment I wouldn't suggest anyone to go to Russia because it's very difficult but if you're looking for Europe, it's good, but you have to consider a lot many things. Yes. So start doing by yourself. Apply. Also, maybe the applications could be on fee based. So maybe you have to pay like 30 euro, 50 euro, maybe 100 euros, and you can look into.
Thank you, ma'am, for the advice. I hope, Prabhanjana ma'am, you got your answer. Uh, okay, so now last question from my side would be, could you please summarize the entire journey to get into this field of cognitive psychology in an abroad university and some, short tips and tricks to make that process a little easier?
Firstly, you have to know if what kind of research interest you have, because not every university would be having such designated lab or professors who would like to do research in that. So, firstly, you need to look into. If you're still open, then okay, make an try searching for different universities. But I was very focused, so I knew कि अच्छा नहीं मेरे को इसी में ही देखना है. And I only looked into the universities. I also did research in the professor's profile, what work they do, how much publication they have, what kind of research direction they are looking into, right? Uh, Secondly, the tips and tricks I would say is to learn the skills, at least the basis, to fulfill that target. If you're finalizing that, acha, out of these many research, these five universities are there, and I'm applying there only. And you connect with the professors also, because I think professors are quite open, okay? Most of the time they're quite open and they love having new ideas, taking new students, connecting with them. So just connect with them, talk, know more about it, and you can then decide that okay, this might be the case. Also, there is one more thing you need to know, if that research topic is being continued by that professor or not, because it may happen that when you plan to apply but then you get to know, oh no, the professor is not deciding to do further research in the topic but he's stepping to another one. Changes are okay here, so don't be very rigid that "Nee, I only want to go to this university." You have to do a background check if you really know that okay, this is the topic that you want to do research in. It happened with me, but I was still okay that because I was open to accept new different topics, and so I opted for neurourbanism. I wanted neuroeconomics, but I went for urbanism, right? So you only need to be focused. Like if you have any specific interest, if not, then you can choose the university. But definitely don't go for 100 universities or 20 university application. Make a targeted application because less would be more of a better quality. So you have a high chance of getting admitted. I only did three applications, just three, for my master's, and I got it with scholarship. I didn't even know. I applied randomly and I just got it. So just be more, strategic when you want to get in, and also look into the funds. Funds is very big thing because in India, usually the huge population lies in the middle income country. So, I mean, you have to think that whether or not you'll be able to afford it, and would you be able to live away from your family for a long time, because coming home with such amount of expense, it's just not easy. So you have to think about it, and yes, and also what kind of skills you would be learning, because most of the students at least would not stick to the same university for the next degree. They plan to go to another one, and I would recommend that, because the more you go into different universities, the more diverse experience you have, the more opportunities for collaboration and the big network. तो मैं कभी नहीं बोलूंगी कि भाई एक ही यूनिवर्सिटी में आप पढ़ो, अच्छा है तो रहो, नहीं तो ट्राई टू स्विच, but switch to a good one, switch to a good one, right? And you can also look through the rankings, because slight idea, but please do not focus just on the rankings. You have to focus on the syllabus, the professor, and the opportunity, that how you will be managing your expenses. This is the important things.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the insights. I hope if anyone from here wants to do their further programs from abroad, they will definitely consider the points you shared with us. Thank you for that. I can see Sakruti is asking, ma'am, I'm thinking of pursuing clinical psychology in Germany and maybe setting there after that. I'm currently pursuing BSc psychology. Any advice or something I should keep in mind?
Firstly, language skills, because I know here, although the program might be in English, and if you want to stay back here after that, you need to consider those points which can make you stronger to get an vacancy or job opportunity. Language is foremost. Second, you can look into a decent university which has lot much of opportunities in the clinical psychology. I am not into clinical, so I do not know much of it, because I'm more focused to the cognitive research. Clinical thoda दूसरे end पे आ जाता है, but language is a very big thing, and you have to also look how often is the opportunity for you to set up a private clinic, because at least I know they ask for C1 German level or C2 German level, which is quite difficult. It takes like an year or more if you give a full dedication to it. So just for education, it's fine. But if you plan for long term, and staying here and getting a job opportunity, then please you have to look into these aspects, like how you could be able to beat up the other population and get and settle to open a clinic or maybe work in a hospital. Language is a big thing because young adults are okay, they do know English. At least that's the reason that I'm still surviving well in Aachen. But when it comes to in the work sphere, I think you definitely need to know the language. So language can be a quite big priority for you in this case. Yes, लर्निंग तो कहीं पर भी आप कर सकते हो, कैसे भी आप रह सकते हो, बट इफ यू वांट टू लुक फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म, you have to consider these aspects, especially in the case of Germany at least.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so I'm done from my side. If anyone from here wants to ask anything else, any relevant question from our title, you can unmute yourself and ask to ma'am. Anyone with any of your questions. Okay, I think everything went so smoothly and you made us understand the topic. So it was a quite complicated one, especially अगर वो Indian context में होता तो शायद हमारे लिए कुछ easy भी होता. But since it was for abroad countries, it was quite complicated one. And thanks to you, you made it so easier for us to understand everything. I hope everyone got some new insights from this session. So yeah, if no one has any question, we can end this meeting here. Please give me a thumbs up, everyone. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today in the session and having patience till the last. Those who are still here, I really appreciate your engagement. And thank you so much, ma'am, that you are here with us today and sharing so much insights for us.
It was
See you.
wonderful. It was wonderful that I was able to share my experience, because there are like quite a lot many people who might not know the reality of studying abroad or how to get into. And yeah, the consultants are just they can rip you off, so be cautious of them. And I wish you everyone who is planning to study abroad be find something useful from this. And I'm so much happy that I was able to share my knowledge.
Definitely, ma'am, you are. Thank you. Thank you so much. See you very soon in our next sessions. Thank you so much, ma'am. Hoping to see you again with us. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.